Some of you may know that I was raised by South Asian immigrant parents, and my family came to the UK in the 90s, and I think they did a pretty good job of instilling a couple of money related and life related values in me and taught me a few lessons that I am going to carry through to the rest of my life and probably pass down to my children as well. And even though I didn't listen to all the lessons, maybe when I should have done a couple of years ago when I was a student, I definitely embody them as much as I can right now. Lesson number one, my mum always told me as soon as I start earning my own money, that is putting a roof over my head and buying my food, to save at least 30% of it. She actually initially used to preach the 30-30-30 rule, so when you save 30% for, discretional spending, you save 30% for your compulsory spending like food, utilities, water, the roof over your head. I don't think it's really practical in 2021, and also living in an expensive-ish city where the compulsory costs do kind of take up more than 30% of my income. So I follow a different method. I don't really stick to percentages, but actually drilling into my head to save at least a small percentage portion of your salary. It was always a thing I knew I was going to do. When I wasn't doing it, when I wasn't earning enough to save as much, I used to tell myself, which I now know is wrong, watch my previous videos. Having this kind of fundamental rule about money that you earn is really going to shape the way that you spend, and it's hopefully going to influence the fact that you would spend less than you earn. And I think in this day and age there's so many more elements to spending, earning, especially if we incorporate the fact that we're investing a lot of our money nowadays as well, because saving just isn't the most efficient thing to do anymore with the most of your money. It gets that good habit ball rolling. The second tip it's not really money related, but it's something that I do without even thinking, and that's reusing anything and everything I can. I think South Asian culture is just very sustainable in itself. I mean, we all know the memes about ice cream tubs not being filled with ice cream, heartbreakingly so, and having newspaper from decades ago just kept for reusing, having cloths that are actually old t-shirts, and old t-shirts actually really make really good cloths, especially face cloths. They're really soft and gentle on the skin and the hair, and even applies to your Tupperware from takeaways. Literally don't need to buy extra Tupperware. Maybe needed to buy a couple of leak-proof boxes for some lunches. Reusing everything and really thinking out of the box on your single-use habits and your trends to see what you kind of consume every day and what can be reused, because it's definitely second nature for my mum and our family to reuse a lot at home. It's definitely something that has bled into my day-to-day habits at home as well. The third thing is something that feeds into my frugal v cheap mindset, and that is to buy for the long term and not the short term. In my frugal versus cheap video, I talk about the fact that frugality to me means living for the long term. It doesn't mean actually living really frugally and keeping everything close to you and not spending that much. Cheap to me means something is not going to see you past the next 3 to 6 months, and that's with materialistic items. Something I think my parents definitely taught me was that value really outweighs a lot of things, and value can sometimes come at a higher cost. And we definitely did this a lot with food. My parents would bulk buy a lot. They had the space for it, which is good. When I lived at home, we used to bulk buy a lot. We had supplies for things that were used daily, weekly. We never really ran out of anything, which is really efficient and economic for food price bills as well. And the fourth thing is something I'm probably assuming a lot of South Asian households can relate to, and that's investing in gold and putting a lot of family wealth into gold. I think this is really interesting if you think about it, because I think with Indian culture, historically, the more gold you had, the more family wealth it represented. It was almost like having maybe like land or property for, the equivalent kind of wealthy families in the UK. But the lesson that I learned from my family or my mum investing in gold and buying gold buying gold as regularly as she does is the importance into kind of long-term risk-free or low-risk investments. And I kind of equate this into the money that I have steadily going into my index funds that I have slowly been building up over the last couple of years. Long-term investments are always going to, you know, provide that safety in the future. It almost equates to, you know, always having that thing that you can rely on if anything goes wrong, if anything bad happens, because I think scarcity mindset is really common within immigrant families and South Asian families. That feeds into, you know, always having this backup plan. And while it's not really that healthy to live always assuming you'll need a backup plan, it's that almost a little bit of a rainy day safety net of like assets that I'll have in the future that I can rely upon. Now the fifth thing is taking care of your possessions, taking care of the things you end up buying that are high value, that are long term. My mum could pull out something she bought in the 90s and it would be in pristine condition. She buys bags that never see the light of day unless she's going to a special occasion. And while I do love this point, and it means that, you know, the things that you're buying with your hard-earned money are going to last you a long time, they're not being tossed around, I still think, if I kind of mesh this with my 2021 viewpoint, I still think, you know, you should live your life. If you buy a nice bag for yourself for a nice reason, wear it, go out with it, just make sure you're taking care of it. It also helps to strengthen, you know, the gratitude that you can sometimes forget about for all the things, like the material things we have that we were able to buy with money that we have that other people don't have. You know, taking care of them and being grateful for them can go a really long way in how you value these items long term. The sixth thing is DIYing everything, cooking at home. My mum can do anything, I'm pretty sure. She not only knew how to do most things, if she couldn't, she would find out how, learn, and then that was it, she could do it. And this is definitely translated into habits I have now for not relying on hairdressers, not really relying on nail people, not relying on anyone else to give me anything that I need at one point in time. The one thing that I cannot do, that I'm pretty embarrassed about, is sew up holes. I can't do it. I need to learn how to do it. Like, I wouldn't know how to use like an emergency sewing kit. Is that bad? But I tried to do as much of everything else myself. And the seventh thing is always using vouchers and loyalty points. My mum is so anal about supermarket vouchers, and this is something that I spoke about in a previous video called 16 habits that will lose you money, and that is not using those vouchers and loyalty points. My mum would always save our supermarket vouchers and almost sometimes use them to guide the kind of shop she would do. These days I feel like we're so quick to throw away our receipts, not even get a receipt, get an e-receipt, get the e-vouchers, disregard our junk mail, all that kind of stuff, because, you know, what difference would £5 make to your weekly food shop? But £5 adds up. Sometimes it's more than £5, sometimes it's less, but using all the rewards that you get for being a loyal customer to your local supermarket adds up. And I was listening to the Receipts podcast today, actually in the shower, and Tolly was talking about the Tesco club card, and I actually also think it's a great club card. I do not go to Tesco anymore, but when I did, I think it was the best points card that I ever used. You get like other rewards as well as normal points for just shopping there, like every time you do shop. Save and use your vouchers, people. Adds up. I have so many more things that I've learned from my parents, and a lot of them are quite deep, so let me know if you want another video on this. I'd love to talk your ear off about my parents. Really proud of them and love them a lot. This video is for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you could relate a little bit. Tell me what your lessons were from your immigrant parents, if you come from an immigrant family as well. And even if you don't, what lessons did your parents teach you? Because I think a lot of our habits are, you know, guided by our parents and how they spent and shopped and did everything. Let me know in the comments down below. But I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next week.